All right, everybody, welcome back. We are diving deep today.
Into a massive deal.
A massive deal, yeah.
Yeah,
It could change how millions of people watch TV across Africa.
absolutely.
This is the potential acquisition of Multichoice Group by Canal Plus.
That's right.
So Multichoice Group, think of it like the Netflix of Africa.
Yeah, the biggest pay TV provider.
The biggest,
Absolutely.
and Canal Plus is this French media powerhouse.
Global ambitions.
Oh, yeah. They are looking to expand everywhere, and they've slapped down
A lot of money.
a huge U.S. $1.6 billion price tag.
So we're not talking about just like a, minor little thing here.
No, this is
This is huge.
a major shakeup,
Yeah,
and we are going to unpack what it means for you, the viewer,
especially
with the restructuring going on.
Yeah, all the
To
restructurings.
navigate the South African regulations.
Yes, South Africa has some unique rules.
Very much so.
And we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
I mean, what's interesting to me is
This deal is bringing together these two giants, right?
yeah.
MultiChoice, already dominant in Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and then Canal Plus looking to expand even further.
It really is like a chess match.
It's a chess match, yeah, like
Right.
on a continental scale.
Yeah, exactly.
But one of the things that's so interesting to me is that South Africa has all these rules about how much of a company foreigners can own,
Particularly in media.
particularly in media, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, MultiChoice has this commitment
Yeah.
to what's called broad-based black economic empowerment, or the BBBE.
It's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful, but it's essential to understanding this deal.
Absolutely.
So could you break down for us what BBBE actually is?
Sure. So BBBE is a policy that's aimed at righting some of the economic wrongs of South Africa's past.
Right.
And particularly apartheid, right?
Yeah.
Which is obviously a system that was designed to exclude Black South Africans from
From economic
all sorts of things.
participation.
Yeah. So this is about giving Black South Africans more opportunities for ownership.
In businesses.
In leadership positions,
Yeah.
in businesses. So any deal involving a major South African company like Multichoice
Right.
needs to ensure that it doesn't undermine
Those goals.
those goals. Exactly.
Okay, so for anyone listening who maybe isn't familiar with like the specifics of BBBE,
Yeah.
can you give us a little bit more detail on like what that actually looks like in practice?
Sure. So imagine like a point system
Okay.
where companies in South Africa are encouraged and incentivized to have Black ownership,
Right.
Black management,
Right.
and even Black suppliers.
Right.
So it's kind of like a social and economic scorecard,
Mm-hmm.
and it plays a huge role in how businesses operate in South Africa,
Right. So it's a big deal. And any company that wants to operate in South Africa
particularly in media.
has to pay attention to this.
It has to take this into account.
So how does a French company like Canal, plus buying a South African company like MultiChoice, how does that fit into all of this?
Right. Well, it's complicated.
Okay, yeah, I imagine.
To get around those foreign ownership rules that we were talking about and still keep its BBBE scorecard looking good,
Yeah.
MultiChoice is proposing a pretty unique structure.
Okay, so what are they actually doing?
They're creating this separate entity
Okay.
called License Co.
License Co.
Yeah,
Okay.
to hold their broadcasting license in South Africa.
So they're creating this whole separate company
Yeah,
just to hold the license.
exactly.
Okay, so who owns License Co?
Right. Well, that's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
License Co. is going to have a pretty diverse ownership structure.
Okay.
So MultiChoice's existing BBBE scheme,
Okay.
which is called Futhuma Nathi,
Okay.
will hold a 27% economic interest.
Okay, so they've got a stake in the
Yeah.
new company.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then on top of that, there are two other Black-owned investment firms coming on board.
Okay.
Identity Partners, ITI Consortium, and AfriFund Consortium.
So we got a lot of stakeholders already.
Yeah.
But where does Canal Plus fit into all of this?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
MultiChoice Group itself,
Okay.
even though it's being acquired by Canal Plus,
Right.
will only hold a 49% economic interest
Okay.
and just 20% of the voting rights in License Co.
So they're buying the whole company, but they end up with less than half of the control
of the South African broadcaster license,
over that broadcasting license.
which is pretty unusual.
It seems backwards.
It does, yeah, but that's how they're making sure they meet those foreign ownership restrictions
Okay.
and keep that BBBE
Aspect strong.
aspect strong, yeah.
So it sounds like this structure
Yeah.
raises a lot of questions
Oh, absolutely.
about
decision making.
yeah, who has the final say?
Yeah, and how
Yeah.
how are all those different stakeholders?
Right, because you have different stakeholders with different priorities
Exactly.
and potentially different visions.
Absolutely.
or the future of multi-choice in South Africa.
Right.
So we've got Lisa's Co. covering the broadcasting side of things.
Yeah.
But what about the rest of multi-choice?
Well, the rest of the structure is a bit simpler.
Okay.
Multichoice Group will keep a 75% stake in Multichoice South Africa,
Oh.
which is separate from License Co.
Right.
And Futhumanathi keeps its 25% interest there.
Okay.
And then License Co. and Multichoice Group will have commercial agreements
Okay.
behind the scenes
Yeah.
to make sure that everything runs smoothly for viewers.
So if you're sitting at home watching TV,
Yeah.
this shouldn't really affect your service.
Not at all.
Or what you're watching.
Exactly.
I'm guessing all of this is very carefully designed to comply with
The Electronic Communications Act.
South Africa's Electronic Communications Act. Can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that act has been around since 2005.
Okay.
And it really sets the ground rules for media ownership in South Africa. And it's all about making sure that South African voices
Have a presence.
have a strong presence in their own media landscape.
So this deal with, it's like very complex structure.
Yeah.
And it's focused on Black ownership.
This is a direct result of that act.
Okay, so that's the background, right?
Yeah.
But even with this really intricate setup,
Yeah.
the deal's not done, right?
Not yet.
There are still some hurdles.
There are still regulatory hurdles
Yeah.
to overcome.
What are those?
So the deal still needs to be reviewed by regulators
Okay.
in a bunch of different countries.
Okay.
And Futhumanathi's independent board needs to sign off as well.
So there's still a chance that this could all fall apart.
Oh, definitely.
But Canal Plus seems pretty confident.
They do, yeah.
I mean, their CEO, Maxime Sada, has said,
He sees it as a chance to create
Yeah.
a unique global media company.
reaching audiences across Africa and beyond.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he's been emphasizing
How this deal supports
Black economic empowerment.
Black economic empowerment, right?
So it's like they're trying to position themselves as a champion of BBBEE,
It does seem that way.
which is kind of interesting since they're a foreign company
It is, yeah.
coming into this
Very much so.
landscape.
Yeah.
So let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
We've gone deep into the structure and the rules.
Yeah.
But what does this deal actually mean
Yeah.
for the average person watching TV in South Africa?
Right.
Will they notice any changes?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
In theory, viewers shouldn't see much of a difference
Point.
in their day-to-day experience.
Okay.
The channels they subscribe to,
Right.
the pricing, all of that should remain relatively stable,
In the short term.
at least in the short term.
But long term.
Long term, well, that's a different question.
Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, this deal could have a ripple effect
Fine.
on the types of content being produced
Yeah.
and the overall media landscape in South Africa.
Right. And that brings us to the big question.
Yeah.
What does the future hold?
Right.
I mean, we've got this French company coming in.
Yeah.
We have this really complicated ownership structure
To comply with regulations.
designed to satisfy all the regulations.
Exactly.
This huge emphasis on Black economic empowerment.
Yeah.
So what do you think this all means for South Africa's media scene?
And the broader economy.
Yeah, the broader economy.
Mm.
Huge question.
It is a fascinating question.
What are you thinking?
Well, I think, will this influx of foreign investment and expertise boost local content production?
Right.
Will it create more opportunities
For South Africans?
for South African filmmakers and storytellers?
Yeah.
Or will it lead to more homogenized content?
Right.
Content that caters to a global audience?
Yeah, at the expense of...
Potentially at the expense of local voices.
Right.
So those are some of the questions we're talking about.
And for you listening out there,
Yeah.
think about this. If this deal goes through, will it change what you watch on TV? Will it open up new opportunities?
Right.
Or do you think it could stifle creativity?
Good question.
This is a story that's still unfolding, and we'll be watching closely to see how it all plays out.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
We will see you next time.
See you then.